folks. Welcome to the next edition of Serverless CrAIc. We are flying along, busy. How are you getting on?
Very busy. Um, Embracing the AI dream, right?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, 100%.
CrAIc with AI in the middle.
Absolutely.
So, think a lot of good stuff. Like, thought it's crazy how fast stuff is changing. It's insane. It's good fun, like, but it's insane. It's a full-time job trying to just stay with the conversation. We thought we might talk about psychological safety.
Yeah.
It's a big part of the second phase of the flywheel, um, creating an environment for success and the concept of challenge. Um, so I mean, I think this one is super interesting. I actually think there's been hype around AI in my experience for the last 10 years, and it's always been sort of it's one of those things that if you raise any question about it, you're seen as a non-believer. It's probably the one technology that it's very hard to have an opinion against it. Even like blockchain and other things, and you could say I'm not sure, and that's okay, but it's very hard to push back against AI. And I think that's got infinitely worse like 3 years ago when ChatGPT came out, and then probably again since the switch last November of all the Claude and models.
Yeah.
So I always think that the measure of a good engineer is to really think about something and communicate like something what this may not work, but
Mm.
I think I'm pretty sure in companies all across the world, good engineers are saying I'm not quite sure about this, and they're being basically shut down. They don't have the psychological safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think have you ever encountered a hype cycle is maybe as aggressive or as impacting as this one?
No,
No.
I mean the cloud stuff was hot and heavy, but that was almost like a 10-year hype cycle.
Yeah.
It's like a 10-month hype cycle run.
I think
Um,
my there's two things on this, I think. It like and again, all you can talk here is from your personal experience, right? And sort of what I've been hit with in the last sort of year, I'd say, but probably more in the last sort of 6 months. I feel like there's a couple of things. There's your typical engineering mindset. Measure twice, cut once. You know, um, trust but verify. There all those sorts of things that are kind of ingrained in you that makes you a good engineer, kind of makes you, really uncomfortable with a lot of the things that really we've been kind of subjected to in the last sort of while. And then it's almost like you've got a there's a I don't know if everyone goes through it because I was kind of the same. I was always like, it's a lot of hype here, a lot of it's true, and then but the tooling has been evolving rapidly. I definitely feel like there was a shift, particularly with like the Opus and the Claude,
November, November 25.
Yep.
That
you
was the
know,
moment.
and then you start to go, oh, well, actually, that they're doing a wee bit more than coding. They're actually, they're thinking
Yeah.
and they're
Yep.
they're applying all the kind of engineering kind of rigor that you would typically go through, and okay, so it's very you still hard to get a one shot, but they're getting close. And then you kind of going, oh, it's happening. It's happening. So you acknowledge it and you kind of go with it and you have to accept it. And then you jump in with both feet. But then I think that gets you into the next thing of psychological safety where I'm experiencing where you just feel like you're flying. Like there's so much to process. It feels like everyone's trying to do something but doing it slightly different. And you're trying to work out where you are and what you're doing. And it's psychologically it's exhausting.
Yeah.
I
And
think it's
and
a real
so
test of leadership as well about keeping everything. It's the learning organization, you know what I mean? It's so difficult to put in place because you have to let certain things fail and people learn, but you have to progress as well. So it's really hard to lead that type of
it doesn't
environment.
help.
I think it's
And what doesn't help is like those crazy articles on LinkedIn where the people are, they've got their code factories hooked up and we don't review code or write. You're kind of going, okay, that's great, but how did you get there?
Yeah.
yeah,
That's kind of the interesting question, right?
There's also from a like our architecture brains, we're always trying to think about how do we build a sustainable path to this, or what guardrails or what feedback loops do we put in place. But with everything
Containment.
moving so quickly, you don't want to start to codify or pattern enable some of the stuff yet because it hasn't settled down yet. Everything's
Mm.
evolving rapidly. Everything's emerging still, every day. So you want to be we're like, always almost like holding ourselves back with. You don't want to apply too much rigor, discipline, standard, structure, because it's going to stifle innovation. It's going to stifle the teams. You're going to get in the way of their, trying to explore and learn and grow as with the tools, right? So you don't want to say, here, we're just doing this and we're just doing this and we're just doing this. We're not quite, the industry hasn't evolved yet. We haven't figured out what good looks like in this space yet.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important point because the status quo is changing, and I don't think people appreciate what that is because it's changing at a different pace in people's heads. There's a really nice model, but it's just really a graphic. It's Creative Commons, a crowd called Mutomuro. I've been using it in presentations called the four stages of psychological safety. I'll tell you briefly because the last two are interesting. There's exclusion when you're left out. Then there's inclusion safety when you're at the meeting, but or you're in the conversation, but you don't think you can talk. And then there's learner safety when you feel safe to learn. Like I'm happy to say I don't know that. And AI is getting a bit of that. You can't really say you don't know it, even though we all know that nobody really knows. You know what I mean? Then there's contributor safety. Like, can I share my thoughts and say, I'm not sure. Or, well, you can kind of say, maybe we do it differently, or I think we should do this. And then there's challenger safety. Can you challenge the status quo? And the point is, when the status quo is changing, I don't know if I'm challenging the status quo, or maybe if your status quo has changed because you just read a bunch of nonsense on LinkedIn. Do you know what I mean? So it's really, really difficult to see where people are at because it's such a shift in sand, the landscape.
Yeah. There's also a capacity issue around psychological safety. In the past, you would have had your more senior engineers helping coach and guide and create an environment where they could have, feedback loops for their teams exploring and experiment and stuff. But all your senior engineers are actually, they've got their own psychological safety issues where they're trying to read and keep up to date and experiment and explore. Like a lot of the capacity that they maybe had in the past to help mentor and coach and guide junior people, those cycles are being eaten up by, they need to embrace this stuff themselves. They need to learn this stuff themselves. So that there's almost like a capacity gap that bring the more junior people up on the journey as well.
Mm,
I think that's a pattern I'm seeing as well, Mark. I think um the more experienced guys are kind of grouping together. Like I've been doing it, but you're grouping together and you're kind of going, you're really kicking the tires in this. And it's a weird thing that's happening. It's almost like you've optimized this in the back of your head. Well, I'm going to surround myself with the senior group. We're going to try and work this out. You're sense making constantly, and it's
mm,
exhausting. But you're all trying to get like consensus, and then you can kind of go back and spread it out. But
mm,
that's happening on a way faster scale than anything I've encountered before. And then every time you go in, there's a slight variation or there's something new. Or like I was in there the other week and I noticed, oh, my things did dividing up into sub-agents. When did that happen? And you're kind of going, okay, yeah, I have to understand what this is doing, and it's
yeah.
difficult. I just feel like it's to Dave, to your point, it's strong opinions loosely held,
Yeah.
and it's hard to know. And to your point, Mark, it's hard to know when to step in and when to kind of let something play out and and learn. So I think when you're in our position, it's actually really difficult right now.
So here's a challenge for you both. Like we've been through technology change for many years, maybe even say decades, but let's not show our age. Um, what do you think is good advice if you're going to advise say we're advising each other? I mean, we're all engineers. What's your advice about attributes that you should kind of hold on to? Do you know what I mean?
I think
And
that
I'll start. I think like a growth mindset is really important as opposed to a fixed mindset. Like that's a simple one. And there's loads of stuff written about a growth mindset versus fixed. I
yeah,
think if you fixed mindset at the minute, you're in deep trouble.
yeah. I think best for action, just try stuff out. The barriers have never been
Mm,
lower, right? Like a lot of the cloud and free tiers allow you to experiment with a lot of this stuff. A lot of the tools have pretty generous free capabilities like Google, Claude, others, right? You can try quite a lot of this stuff out for very little money. So I think having that your best for action. Just experiment with these things, right? And in the past, you couldn't have stitched together, you know, Google and Jira and AWS and whatever. Now with the tools supporting you, you can very rapidly build compelling ecosystems to stitch these things together to experiment and try stuff out. So there's never been a better time to build stuff and experiment with stuff and build those little experimental little sort of platforms that you can then learn from. That's never there's never been a better time to do that. Doesn't have to be in your
Mm.
organization. It could just be on the side to help inform what you're going to then bring and apply to your own teams. So I think that batch for action is critical. I think just try some of these things, right?
Mm.
Yeah, I think great ones. I think the definitely growth mindset. Um, and that and the best fraction, 100%. The growth mindset for me is, if you're in an area, whatever, you got to realize, be open-minded, don't be kind of negative, keep an open mind with certain things. Try stuff all the time. Have a best fraction. The best fraction one's a great one. Mark, I think, you know, I've I've threw myself into teams lately and just kind of said, right, let's just tackle this problem and understand where's all the weak spots. What are we learning? You know, and I think what I've had to learn how to do is be vulnerable. You're coming from a position where you've got rules and constraints and guards to a world now where, you want to move at pace and this is all new and it's doing things you don't understand and I still don't understand. So you've got to be vulnerable, and learn from other people. Like
Yeah.
I honestly can't remember a period in my career where I've actually learned as much in such a short period.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm encouraging I was encouraging encouraging everyone else, don't come in like you've all the answers. Be
Yeah.
vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I think similar to that, I was thinking about empathy and humility.
mm,
I think there's lots of different roles that can impact in different ways. You know what I mean? From junior engineers to, engineer managers, product managers, even stakeholders. Like if a stakeholder's pushing hard, trying to think, well, where are they coming from? Like why are they pushing so hard? For the engineers, it's like feeling unsure of themselves, or or a junior engineer's feeling sure of themselves, or an engineer manager decides we're going to start coding tomorrow. I mean, it's like understand why people are doing that, and then the humility because you're not you don't have all the answers.
No.
So it's about
no,
asking questions and
I think
having the
let
discussion. And
There's
I think it's
let's talk about
okay, especially to admit that I'm not quite sure how this works. Let's figure it out.
dude, and I think that's the elephant in the room. Things are changing. The landscape is rapidly evolving. And what I've been having to do is asking, how am I adding value to my team?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a good thing.
Mm,
So it's forcing me to think very differently and think about things I can maybe get ahead on or things I can kind of bring. But it also mean I need to learn certain skills as well that the team have.
mm.
And being open to that, I think, you've got to be able to do it.
But then,
I think that's a key
yeah,
point
but
there. I think I think a
I think
lot
you have
of
to be just briefly. I think you have to be confident in your core skill sets as well. Like, if you've been an engineer for a couple of decades, that's extremely valuable skill sets, So be
and
confident in that.
I do think,
Look,
like you mentioned there, like there's a lot of uncertainty about the future of the roles, the future of jobs. I think understanding how you can deliver value, understanding the value chain, and are you actually delivering and providing value is going to be critically important as the future evolves around all of this, right? So, that's a good one to sort of be able to close on. I think we're near
well,
time here,
well,
but it's like,
just on that point, Mark, but I've never been as busy in my life.
yep.
Right? I've never been as busy. And if you can come to me and tell me at one point, like my mum could do what I do, then yeah, I'll get worried. You still need that skills and experience in order to kind of navigate like the waters that we're in, right? So
Mm,
100%. But I'm busier than ever. Like I
mm.
don't remember being as busy either.
I did a talk a couple of months ago and I for the crack I listed all the technologies that at some point in my career I said that's nonsense, that's not going to work. And then I thought, ooh, actually I think that is going to work, and then I had to learn it. And it's a big long list, and this is just another one. Like so it's like it's okay to think, bloody hell, what's happening here? And then get stuck into it like. But yeah, there's going to be no shortage of work around.
No.
That's for sure.
No, and even when you think in the past, like what percentages of the software stuff that you've worked on have been genuinely successful? You know what I mean? Like companies, a lot of them, they change them constantly, they rebuild them
Yeah.
constant. So
Yeah.
with this sort of stuff, you should be able to get to successful stuff a lot more
Yeah.
frequently, right?
Yep.
So again, hopefully it just means we're doing a lot more successful stuff a lot more frequently,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then
and then that's good,
it's never
right?
been easier to apply world-class standards to what you're doing as well, right? The AI really helps accelerate
Bit
doing
more
domain-driven
ambition.
design, event-driven architecture, well-architected, serverless first, security first principles. AI is a massive enabler for applying really high standards to what you're doing. There's never been a better
Yeah,
time to really apply good stuff to what you're producing.
yeah,
Well, that's
100%.
true. Maybe that's a good one to end on. One of the things that I always was slightly worried about, and as we were working on the book, are some of these standards too high. Maybe 5 years ago, you're talking to a junior engineer and talking to well architected framework and 86 questions and all the stuff they
Yep.
need to learn, and you're like going, "Oh my God, that's insane." Now you can just say, just call it MCP server and ask it for
Yep.
the gaps.
Yep. Just
And
ask your
it raises the bar for everyone.
ask your AI, is this well architected? And it'll give you pretty good guidance and advice.
Yeah. Well, that's the crack.
100%.
Psychological safety. It's a really important topic, and I would definitely think about it. And it's the Amy Evanson wrote a great book about it called Fearless Organizations, and the Mutimuro um uh little graphic is very cool as well. I think they're London consultancy. But that's the crack. We'll leave it at that. Give us a wee click on serverlessage.com on LinkedIn or YouTube, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.